Hello, I'm Tom, an assistant producer in the world of telly, and for as long as I can remember, I've been obsessed with knowing how TV is made, thanks to shows like Doctor Who Confidential and all the behind-the-scenes features on DVDs. One of my biggest passions is helping to make TV more accessible to those starting out in the industry, as for me, it seemed like a big scary world that was impossible to get into. Getting into TV aims to break down those barriers and deep dive into every single role that we can, from unscripted to scripted. Join me in each episode where I'll talk to a different TV professional about what they do, how they got there, and what tips and tricks they can give you, plus some general TV chat. In this episode, I'm joined by Jack Disnley, a researcher in the world of unscripted TV, who I spoke to a few years ago about being a runner. This time though, we're chatting about being a researcher and what it's like to step up to a new role, as well as chatting about all the usual stuff like what advice he can give. This is Getting Into TV. Thank you so much for talking to me, Jack. I just want to say, I was looking through your LinkedIn profile earlier whilst I was prepping for this. And I was kind of blown away by the amount of different credits you've got, like the different shows, even since coming from a runner to a researcher, it's very varied. I mean, for instance, you're running in various CBBC shows, you've done casting on Great Pottery Throwdown, and now you're researching on Loose Women. Would you mind just introducing yourself a little bit and also just give us an idea of who you are and what it is you do?
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I saw that you had a little stalk on my LinkedIn. I was like, he's getting prepped. Yeah, so I'm Jack Disnley. Don't get confused with my Instagram handle, Jack Dinsley. I'll get into that later on. Why that is the name of my
I mean,
Instagram.
just whilst we're touching on that, I did have to ask him how to pronounce it, how to spell his name. Was it with an E or an A? Because I was really confused. But yeah, I'll let him do that later.
Yeah, so I am currently a researcher at Loose Women, which is a full-time job, which is crazy because I've got the worst commitment issues in the world. That's in relationships and in the TV world. Because as Tom will know, being freelance, you bounce from job to job, and I'm used to that. So yeah, so started out as a runner in children's, built up all that, and then I just went on to unscripted TV, and here we are.
And the rest is history.
And that's only like 2 years. 2 years. It's ridiculous.
It is crazy how it goes. I mean, me and my production, my JPM actually today were talking about how long we've known each other, and it feels like we've known each other about 10 years. We've only known each other about 3. Like it seems a lot longer. But I'd love to know, how did you get into TV? Was it something you always wanted to do? Was there a specific course you did? What was there any training? How did the TV world kind of grab you?
So since I was 14, I used to write for my local column in Blackpool. So that's how I got like my taste for like journalism and like writing. While all the cool kids were like doing like sport and everything, I was writing a column in the Junior Gazette, which is the Blackpool Gazette children's column. And literally, I've still got all the articles that I wrote. I've done about 150 articles.
What kind of articles would you write?
Oh god, it varied from like doing like film reviews. My favorite article, which is so nice to look at, is an Inside Out review. Oh my god, it's gorgeous, and it's just like a massive article, just a review talking about it. But then like this used to send me out to like, Blackpool Tower to do like a event. I did stuff for charities, and they just would send me out. I was like a roving reporter at the age of 16, and it was just mental. And then from then on, I just kind of knew like this world of like journalism was where I wanted to go. So I studied at the University of Central Lancashire, which is in Preston, and I did the BA course in journalism, and that was accredited by NCTJ as well. So as well as doing my degree for 3 years, I also did the NCTJ, which also it's a full-on diploma. You do your law, your ethics, everything like that. So it weren't just passing the degree. I also had to pass this diploma. I did pass shorthand, but we moved. I just can't get my head around shorthand. Like I did like 50 words a minute. 50 words a minute.
That's still
But
pretty impressive.
oh yeah, but everyone else was getting gold standard there. It was like I was embarrassingly bad at shorthand. However, I don't think shorthand is needed as much anymore because I feel like with technology, we move with the times. I get it with court reporting because, again, we're very good at court reporting either. So, yeah. So here we are.
Wow. So how did you get, obviously you did your journalism then, you did all of that, and you did your reviews. How did TV get you? Where did TV come from in your life?
So this is second year of university. So we have a careers event at UCLan called CJAM. So basically, people from BBC, ITV, and other like newspapers and stuff, they all come and we got to pitch to them. So this is actually quite a full circle moment because this Friday I'm going back to UCLan to that same careers event, and I'm doing a talk about
Oh
how
wow.
my job about the job, which is
It's really weird when that happens, isn't it? I've done a few talks at my old university, and I always find it weird. As someone that never wanted to go to university, to actually go and do a talk at a university about what I do, I find it so kind of surreal. And sometimes I feel like a bit of an imposter. Like,
oh,
how am I here talking about this?
I've
And
got that.
it's when people come up and ask me questions, and I'm like, I don't know. It's so weird.
It is weird, and it's like I'm feeling that this week because it's like I'm going to be with other big like companies and stuff, and I'm going to be like, yep. Here I am talking about loose women. Like this is a joke. So at the 2018 event, I pitched to ITV and BBC.
Mm.
So the ITV person was representing Good Morning Britain, Lorraine, Loose Women, and This Morning. And basically, she was offering placements at her show. And I was like, nah, not a chance. Because the way that this works, you book in slots,
Mm.
and she had all the slots filled for obvious reasons because it's ITV. So I pitched about the lack of stammer awareness in the media. This was a bit aimed at news round because they were also there as well, and at ITV. Obviously, two very different audiences. One to children and one is aimed at adult audiences. And I got placements at both, which absolutely baffled me because I was like, this is like not real. Like, this isn't real. But yeah, so that's how I got into TV.
It's a pretty impressive way of getting into TV. The fact that how old were you at this point? Were you like 20? 19.
19.
The fact that at 19 you had that confidence to pitch
Mm.
content, to pitch an idea. That, am I right in thinking it actually got made for Newsround? I think in our last conversation you told me about that.
Yeah. So I landed a placement in 2018, and then I had a day shadowing day in 2019 at the start of the year, and then I just kept harassing them, emailing. Which if you are listening to this, you need to keep in that like in their brain basically
Yeah.
because I don't know anyone in TV, but obviously now I do. But at that time, I didn't know anyone, so I had to use my contacts. Then when it was my week's placement in October 2019, it was International Stamina Awareness Day. Again, full circle moment. And I was like, in front of everyone at News Round, all the presenters, like Ricky, Leah, the people I grew up watching, they were sat there. And then I remember they going, oh, Jack, have you got something to say? I'm like, yeah, I do. And then I pitched it, and I was on their Instagram, the website. They keep recycling
Yeah.
the story every year. So I'm like, I'm always on their page, and it's just,
That is something that I think. I mean, I don't know how big Newsround is now for kids nowadays, but as someone that absolutely loved Newsround, I can imagine we're very close in age. I imagine you had that same kind of love for that show. So to get that is pretty impressive. You just mentioned as well, obviously when we first spoke, well,
yeah.
I mentioned you were a runner. Um, how how did you go about that change from a runner to a researcher? I mean, I've done it to myself, and a lot of people say different things. Like someone at my university, an old lecturer said to me, and for me this is a really bad bit of advice. So anyone listening, don't feel bad about this. If you're a runner now and you're not achieving what this lecturer told me, but they basically said that you should only be a runner for a year, and then you should be striving to go other places. And for me, I always had that in the back of my head. I was like, I've been a runner for like 2 years now. I should be doing something else. And for me, that was a really bad bit of advice. And because I think there's no time limit on how long you can be a runner for, because you can learn different things. I mean, anyone listening to this, has listened to previous episodes, will know I was in drama for a bit. So it took me a while to fall into unscripted and to learn that I wanted to be an editorial and learn the different routes. And I think the thing about being a runner, I don't know about you, but you get to talk to different people and try different things. So how did you take that step from being a runner to being a researcher?
So again, I will echo what you just said. I think that's such bad advice to say, just 1 year because it's becoming more and more common. Like people are changing careers as well.
Definitely.
Like so, there are older runners, that are in like the late 20s, early 30s, and that's perfectly acceptable.
Mm.
So I just for anyone listening as well, I don't think there's any age on like when you start in TV either. Also, as well, another thing to throw out there, I actually don't have a driving license. So this is something that does shock people because I'm in all the Facebook runner groups still, and people are always asking that question, like, how do you navigate it without a license? Unfortunately for me, I had all my lessons and stuff the year of COVID, and then I've just never been able to get it sorted,
Mhm.
to get the license. So I think that's something I just want to bring up because I feel like there is a way of making it work in TV because there's plenty of opportunities. Not at the
Definitely.
moment, I know, but when the things you pick up, it will get better.
No, I completely agree with you. Being a driver isn't necessarily the be all or end all of working in TV, to be
Yeah,
fair. I mean, if you want to be a driver, then that is the be all and end all. But to be in editorial and to be in telly, I think definitely from my experience anyway, I mean, being in unscripted is much easier to not drive personally. From my understanding of being in the scripted world, I think the unscripted world is more forgiving to that. But going back to the question, it would be great just to I'm all for on this for going off on tangents, but it would just be great to know a little bit about how you navigated that change from being a runner to a researcher, because it's not, from when I did it, it wasn't a massive change, because I think if you're, as a runner, I was basically asking to do the stuff anyway. So by the
yeah.
time I officially became a researcher, I'd already been doing it for a bit. So it would be great to know how you navigated that change.
I think for me it's very different because as a runner, I was kind of like finding my ground, doing scripted,
Yeah.
unscripted, and then when it came to you know, I had a passion for casting, so I always tagged along to every single like casting runner job. So like for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, like I was desperate to do casting on that because I feel like working with a contestant, but that's how then I networked and that's how the paths kind of crossed because every single show that I worked on, I was always with the casting team. I always got speaking to the casting producer and all of that good stuff. That's how the Great Pottery Throwdown kind of like evolved. But Countdown, and I'm really proud of this actually. On my second day as a runner there, my production manager said to me, he went, what do you want to do? Like, where do you see yourself? And I gave this massive speech about, I'm good with talent. I just need that opportunity. Da, 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 da. That same day, I had an email and a phone call conversation with my talent manager
Mm.
offering me the job of the junior researcher
Oh
on Countdown.
wow.
So I don't know how.
I've never heard that kind of way. That's really good though. And I think no, that echoes a lot of what has been said on this on the podcast before, is it just echoes that thing of networking and talking to people and making people, and like you said earlier, always letting people know what it is you want to do and to annoy people. But that's amazing.
Yeah, it was really like it was a picture moment because I remember getting the email because that was my first ever junior researcher job, and that was last October. And then a year later, I'm a full-on researcher. I'm not a junior level researcher. I am a full-on researcher. Again, imposter syndrome is real, and yeah, and the way I got into Loose Women is absolutely baffling, actually. But yeah, I think for me, I am a fast learner, but also as well, I feel like you can teach someone a job in TV, but I feel
Yeah.
like having the passion, the personality, you can't, teach someone that, and that's what I'm finding right now.
No, I completely agree with you. We was having this chat again with my JPM today, and you can always tell, you can work in telly and not have that passion. It is possible, but you can
Yeah,
always, to have someone, when you've got that passion for what you're doing and what you love doing, it completely changes it, not just for you. And it sounds really wanky to say be passionate, but generally be passionate and just enjoy what it is you make, and just watch TV and talk to people and just be passionate about what you do, because it completely changes everything
yeah,
for you. Um,
absolutely.
what would be great though is, now you're a researcher
Hmm.
with various credits under your belt.
Yeah.
What kind of stuff do you wish you knew as a runner, and when you were ready, when you were about to step up? What's that? What do you wish you knew that you could tell someone that's in that process of stepping up, that a good bit of advice?
Well, the first thing I'm going to say is appreciate being a runner when you are a runner. That's the first thing I'm
Mhm.
going to say. I know that's answering the question directly again, but I remember my friend said to me on Hot Wheels, which was in February of this year. She went, wow, like, I think this will be like your last running job or
Mm.
one of. And it hit me when she said it. I was like, oh God, like, I didn't really appreciate being a runner because you're so rushed off your feet all the time doing X, Y, and Z. You don't really fully appreciate what you're doing. So that is what, if you're a runner and you're starting out, just embrace the journey. When you're becoming a runner to a researcher, don't be too hard on yourself because I am learning so much stuff. I'm learning, like, I'm coming to terms with iNews again, Avid, all these like editing softwares. And I feel like some days, don't be too hard on yourself because everyone's learning. Every day is different, which I'm guessing you'll also agree with that. Like loose women,
I would absolutely agree with you on that.
like, every single day is different. Like there's not one day I've had in the office, in the studio, that is the same. So I definitely think, just be kind to yourself and also don't be too hard on yourself.
I just want to echo what you said there in the fact that don't overlook being a runner. I'm
Yes.
going through, I mean, I'm at a different, we're kind of going through similar bits at the minute. You're kind of stepping up to researcher and you've been it for a few months. I've recently, in the last 4 months, stepped up to assistant producer from a researcher, and it's so exciting. But it's it's just that I'm in that moment now where I'm still trying to get used to what my new role entails. Yeah, like you said, being a runner is the best thing ever, and I generally, even though I love what I do now, and I'm so happy to be an assistant
Yeah.
producer, and I'm so glad to be climbing up that ladder and being able to make more decisions and have more control editorially, and I'm really grateful that I get that. But I do miss being a runner. It is so much fun and it's so varied. And I don't think I've definitely had so much fun in all my roles, but my
Yeah.
runner days are so much fun. And like you said, you just can't overlook that role. And it's so pivotal to every single production because you're that glue in a way. You stick
Yeah.
everyone together. You are the one that everyone goes to.
No, I completely agree. And it's like last summer when I worked on Naked Attraction, like when I think about it, it was just absolute. It was just a laugh every single day. When you think of the premise of the show and you
Mhm.
go, I got to work on that, it was as mental as you could think it was. And I just think like now that I'm looking back, I'm like, you know what? It is such a laugh being a runner.
Um, you're on Loose Women. You're a researcher. Are you looking for stories? Are you casting at the minute?
Oh, so so I've kind of gone away from the casting aspect, which was
Yeah.
like the weirdest thing because obviously in my head I was like, I'm gonna do casting, this, that, that.
One thing though,
But
I just want to say it's really good, and I've learned this myself. Is I've always been very much editorial, and I've rarely
no,
done a bit. I've barely done casting, but every now and again I'll hop into it to try it. And I think to anyone listening, it's really good to kind of don't pigeonhole yourself. Try something like I do a lot of crime. Crime takes up my. I don't do crime. Let me just say, Crime Watch takes up a lot of my working life, and that's like about a good 7 months of my life. So the other 4 months, 4 or 5 months. I'm wanting to try something new. So I tend to do a lot of crime for 5 months and then I'll go and do like a dance show and I'll do the casting and stuff there. And I think it's really important to not pigeonhole yourself and just vary it up a little bit.
yeah, absolutely, definitely. But the loose women job is so varied because the main role of the researcher, all the guests that you see on air. So like I worked with Rylan, I've worked with the cast of My Mum, Your Dad, I've worked with some big soap stars. It's insane. So I basically research them, interview
Mm.
them, brief them, write the brief, and then on top of that, it's pitching stories every single day, like for future episodes, for big specials. Like I've just worked on the Loose Men special, which comes out this Friday, and a lot of that I had to research the topics, and it's just mental to think, a year ago I would have laughed at myself. If someone said to me a year like this time last
Yeah,
year,
yeah, yeah.
I was a researcher on Loose Women, I think I would have laughed.
What kind of stuff then as a researcher, what skills, what qualities do you think are good to have as a researcher? And when you're looking for them stories as well, what are you looking for when you're trying to get the perfect loose women story?
So it is a really like a long process to get head around, but basically it's just making sure that the topic that you're pitching is relevant to the women. So obviously every single day you might have a different panel Monday to Friday, and it's always making sure it's relevant to them. So it's like always making sure like when you're pitching a topic or anything, it's always thinking about the women. But also on top of that, you got to think of the audience. So who's watching this show? So it's like when it came to me pitching about stammer awareness recently, because obviously it was International Stammer Awareness Day in October, and I was pitching. But then Rochelle Humes was my guest, and she spoke about growing up with a stammer. So that was like tick, tick, tick. Yeah, no, exactly. I know, didn't know that until I
Oh,
interviewed her, and it was then able to go onto the show. So the guest was the peg, and then she was able to speak about it. So it's always making sure you think of the guest, the women, and also the audience. There's a lot of factors.
hmm. And so once you've got that idea, what's the next step for you when you've got that idea and you've got through the pitch?
So you're pitching constantly. So I was pitched to my assistant producer. Then the producer then picks the best ones that she's been pitched. He or she, sorry, the producer, and they would then pitch them to the editors and the deputy editors on the day of the show. So, like for instance, tomorrow when I'm working on the show, we all come in at 6:30. I collect all the newspapers. We all get like 3 papers each. Then we rip out the best ones, pitch them to the producer, and then she picks the best ones, and
Just,
then she has.
I suppose in a way, a lot of what you do is kind of it's very development as well.
Mm.
There's a lot of that development side of it. Because when I'm on Crime Watch, a lot of when I was a researcher, a lot of what I do is the development would already be done for us by a development AP, and then we get hold of it, and then from there, our job is to talk to the police officers and get all of the facts and figures down, and then from there, we basically write the script and go and film it. So, I mean, I've done a bit of development, but it seems to me that you're very much. I feel as well with Loose Women, there's a bit of casting involved in a way, is there? Because I suppose yeah, you're getting that development, you're getting that pitch, but you have to find the right person to talk about it. Am I right? Or am I just making some stuff up right now?
No, I mean it is essentially that. Like, so it's so also as well. We always have like a meeting. So the day of the show, we always have a meeting with the women just to
Mm.
make sure that they know what topics coming up, do they get their point of views, and like I said, sometimes we do speak about a topic, and they're like. When, like we've got nothing to say on that, which is why we always have like a long string of topics. So we have like the main ones, and then we go, oh, actually, let's talk some about this one. So we're always constantly making sure we've got plenty of topics to pitch because, the women are the show, and without the women, there's no show.
You need a good show. No, completely understand that. When One thing that I think is really important for people listening that maybe don't necessarily know what a researcher is, because I remember when I started out in telly and I was only just dipping my feet into the unscripted world, I didn't know what a research was. To me, it sounded like I spoke to someone. I did a conversation, a talk at my old university 12 months ago, and someone came up to me and they said, "I never knew what a researcher was. I thought they sounded so boring because the job title researcher, it doesn't necessarily sound amazing." So, what would you say are good skills to have as a researcher? What is important for research to do? And also maybe sell the job a little bit. What do you love about being a researcher? Because for me, I know we were saying runner is the best job, but also being a researcher is the best job. And I'm sure when I'm a producer, I'll look back and say assistant producing is the best job. But generally, every single role in telly has its challenges, but it has
Hmm.
different bit things that make it exciting. What would you say you love about being a researcher?
I think exclusively to Loose Women, because I think being a researcher for Loose Women is very unique in the
Mm-hmm.
aspect. No, there's only 3 researchers that are full time at Loose Women. So I think for me, it's you get to work with some incredible guests, and like you get to really interview them, have that laugh, build that relationship with them, and like I've made some great contacts through a lot of these guests. So I think for me, one of the main skills to have exclusively to being a researcher at Loose Women, because they also are hiring as well for a new Loose Women researcher. So if you listen to this and you go, oh, actually, I might, have a good quality about me, apply. Being a researcher at be passionate. You've got to be passionate. Like I'm a massive fan of Loose Women. So working here, I'm what's going on? Like I grew up watching the show, so it's insane that I
I
get
think
to
they
see.
should get you onto Loose Men next year.
Well, get me on Loose Men. Get me on it. I think I would be a great guest. Thank you. I just think being passionate, being dedicated, being hardworking, you've got to be the hardest worker in the room. And, if you don't think you are, I think you need to work a bit harder. Because I always come out of doing the show thinking, wow, what a whirlwind. But then
There's something about live TV that
oh,
it's it's weird doing Crime Watch, doing them 3 weeks of lives in October and in March. It's so exciting. Like all that build up, you've done all these films, and then you come to them 3 weeks, and it's the best way to describe it. It's not as an addiction. It gives you a kind of rush. Like
Yeah.
it's so exciting. You this the stress that you have of going into a live, and then you finish it, and honestly, I can't explain it, but it is generally like this kind of like drug, this rush that you get doing a live show.
And that's the thing. And I think like a lot of people don't realize loose women, you do start quite early because all my friends go, yeah, but it starts at 12:30, and they go, yes, that's when the show starts. But there's so much, work to do beforehand. But
Mm.
honestly, it's the shift just flies by because so what you said, you that rush like from the start of the morning until the afternoon. It's insane.
Since stepping up, what has been the biggest difference that you've noticed between being a runner and a researcher?
The responsibility because I'm so grateful that my APs and producers they do trust me, and it's insane when I say that out loud because I'm like, I have the trust in me. I'm like, oh, I'm 24, and I think for me, I don't know, it's like going for research, I don't know, I just don't know, but I think the responsibility that they do give me, like it's insane, and like the freedom that they give you as well, to really pitch ideas because they are so passionate at ITV for you to, if you've got an idea, like a big idea you want to have on a special or you want to work up, they really want to push that. And I think again, it's insane. Like I really want to do like a talk special about speech, and the whole team are really up for it. And when I think about that, I'm like they want me to work this up, and it's brilliant. So yeah, it's insane.
No, it is being a researcher, and just I always thought factual telly was boring because it was factual, but it's
Mm.
so much fun. And like you said, it's extremely varied, getting to develop ideas and find stories, but also getting to brief people and talk to all these people and get to meet different people and tell different people's stories. I find it really rewarding in a way. And really exciting. And I feel like even though Crime Watch and Loose Women are very different shows, I feel like there is that similarity in the fact that you get to highlight things and do some good. And I think that's really rewarding. And that's what I love about it personally. Um, One thing that you mentioned it at the start, about the fact that you're on a full-time contract now.
Yeah.
And I'm in the same position where I'm on a 12-month contract and in work until next September, which is so rare in telly. I mean, honestly, I can imagine you feel absolutely ecstatic about that because I genuinely feel the exact same. But how did you find, especially being a runner, how did you find that freelance life? How did you cope?
So for me, it's the constant pitter patter, and for me, it's the tax that I couldn't cope with. Like, they, they thought, oh, the tax code situation. I don't know how that can get improved, but that was insane because every job, as you'll know, you'll
Mm,
jump job to job to job to job, but your tax code would never catch up with you. So that
mm,
was, oh. But for me, I was really lucky this year. So at the start of the year, I was fully booked until from January until July, and they were a mixture of runner roles, junior researchers. So I was literally booked up right until the summer, and then that's when they started freelancing for Loose Women. So but I had that constant fear of, is the work that I've signed up for, is it going to get dropped?
mm.
Am I definitely going to get signed on to do something else? It's that constant network and that constant email. And like, it's for me, like, it's fine for a couple of years, I think,
Mm.
when you're finding your feet, but I don't think it's a long term thing because it's so hard on your mental health.
No,
But yeah.
completely agree. I think I'm really grateful for the fact that I've been very, very, very consistent with my work. I found a production that will take me back, which I'm so grateful for. It seems I'm doing a good job somewhere, but I'm really grateful. So I very rarely had, I've had like the odd week off here or there, and I just panic. And like the most I've had off is probably a month, and it is like absolutely terrifying when you don't have that work. And I mean that sofa behind me, I just lie there staring at the ceiling, being like, I'm never gonna work again. And I'm really bad for it. I've been very lucky in the fact that I've only ever had like a month out of work. So to have these 12 months, it's really refreshing to kind of not have to worry. And yeah, it's definitely one of them things that I think the further you get into your career, the longer the contracts become, from my understanding anyway. But yeah, freelancing is exciting, getting to pick where you go and talk to different people. How did you mentioned the fact that you were booked this year, you were booked from January through to July.
Hmm.
How did that come about? Were you networking with people? Where should people look for work?
So for me, like, so from February to April, that was a whole runner block. So that was for Hot Wheels, but that was from a contact that I made at Naked Attraction, and I just kept in touch with them. And then they were like, "Yeah, big stint of work." Then the Great Pottery Throwdown, that was like from May until June. So again, I worked on that last year as their casting runner. So what I'm going to echo here is just make sure you follow up with everyone you work with. Make sure you have
Definitely.
up to date CV, because that's how it worked with Loose Swimming. I had one of the contacts there, and then I was like, "Hi, I'm looking for work," and then they were like, "All right, let's get you in as a freelancer." I was like, "What?" So it's just making sure you get emails, get phone numbers, have a book. When I first started out, I had a book. I used to write down everyone's emails and numbers, probably
I
somewhere.
would absolutely echo that. I've got an Excel document with everyone's name. It's got their name, their production, their role, when I last emailed them, and what that last email was about, just so I can find it. And I know it's probably a bit too much, but I'm just like, I need to know. And I've only recently done it, but it is just that thing of I've said it before. On my course at the minute, they always say that after every training course, email that person back and just let them know that you're grateful. And maybe if you want to ask them a question. I mean, recently I listened to a podcast called Believe in Magic, which anyone listening, go and listen. It's an absolutely phenomenal, can't speak, phenomenal bit of audio podcast true crime. And it starts off where you think it's a nice sweet story, and then all of a sudden it's a 10-part true crime, and it's just absolutely mind-boggling. And I just listened to the credits in that, and I emailed the presenter and the producer. And literally last week, basically asked them a question, told them what I loved about it. And then last week, the producer gave me a Zoom for about half an hour and was answering my question and talking to me about storytelling. And it was so useful. And I mean, it definitely helps being in the industry, but I feel like don't necessarily feel scared. Maybe message someone on Twitter and just say, I love this, and just put yourself out there and show that passion and ask the questions. And it really does help. It does pay off.
I agree. I mean, a student from UCLan has messaged me today saying, "Hi, I've got any advice for pitching for this Friday?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I have got some advice." And it's just great, that people have that, I don't know, just have that courage to message. I think a lot of people
Definitely.
find it really nerve-wracking to message people, but I'm really friendly. Like, message me,
And
and
that's
I'll.
the thing, though, is I can definitely say that when I was in university and starting out into telly, I was scared, terrified to email people. Even as for like close as last year, I was terrified to email people because I thought I don't want them to say no. But the thing is, what's the worst they can do? And the thing is, everyone in TV is really passionate about what they do, and they want to help people. They might be stressed one day. They might have had a really, really long day, but they will always be willing to give you 10 minutes and give you that chat to have a coffee. So yeah, just definitely annoy people, not too much, but annoy people to the right amount. And just show how much you want it and just ask them questions and you'll be fine. You've mentioned already the fact that you do a lot of work and you campaign with you do the camp let me start that again. You've mentioned a lot already in this episode about the fact that you do a lot with the Stammer campaign, that you set up the Be Kind campaign. Do you mind talking to me a bit about that? Because I feel like there's a bit of crossover with your telework and the Stammer campaign. And why did you set it up?
Yeah. So unfortunately, I don't do a lot of campaigning at the moment because I said to myself sort of last year, that if I want to make it work TV, I have to fully give 110%,
Mm.
because I think I was giving as much as I could give, but also I was doing all the campaigning, and I was a bit overwhelmed actually.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. So during lockdown in 2020, well, sorry, before that, I launched the Be Kind summer campaign. Then
Mm.
obviously we had the lockdown. I was doing work with schools, colleges, universities, and basically I was like, you know what, I want to just keep on pushing this. So it really worked. I won a few awards. I won the Diana Award from
Honestly,
Princess,
amazing.
Princess Diana. Yes, please.
Absolutely
Uh,
love it.
love that. Love that for
She
me.
said, I've got a Christmas tree up already, and I know it's only November, whatever it is, but Christmas started in my flat on the 31st of October. I've got a Diana Funko Pop right at the top of my Christmas tree in my kitchen, and it's exactly where it needs to be.
as you should, you know,
Thank
as you
you.
should. You know, she's an icon. Well, she is, and she was an icon. You know, God bless.
Me, actually, talking about this, sorry to butt in. Me and my boyfriend always talk about what Diana would be doing if she was alive now. And one of the things we always say is she would be one of the women on Loose Women. She
Oh
would
my
have
God.
also been writing her fifth smutty novel by now, but she would definitely be on Loose Women.
Oh my God, like she would be an ultimate loose woman. She would be. She'll be. Oh, God bless. Yeah, so Diana, you know, to get that praise, I know it's not her, but the charity to praise me like in that way
Mm.
was sensational. Then I was a finalist at the National Diversity Awards. Then I was a finalist last December at the BBC Make a Difference Awards. It was mental. But yeah, so look at the crossover is, you know, I grew up with a stammer and I wanted, you know, more, you know, awareness for it in the education, but also the media sector, because I do get quite a few people when I do tell them, you know, I grew up with a stammer, you know, people are shocked because they go, oh, I can't tell, you know, hence why I tend to speak quite quickly because, you know, so don't trip myself up, but actually I think I might be doing the opposite effects, but, you know, we move. Yeah, so I'm really passionate about it. And, you know, a lot of people about roll their eyes, oh, he's talking about, you know, having a stammer, but, you know, I've got a platform, so why not
Definitely.
use it for the good, you know? Because, you know, why shouldn't we not talk about it? Because, you know, it needs to be spoken about. So, like, for instance, when I got Rochelle as my guest, and, you know, one of the things was she grew up with a childhood stammer, I was like, you know, this is a great opportunity to pull it out and to get it featured. And, you know, it was received very well from the team, from, you know, everyone watching at home. So, you know, people do care. So, yeah, that's that.
No, I mean I've got one more question about it, if
Right
you don't
on.
mind. But basically, I was reading up about some articles that you've written. I do my research. Okay, I like to pride myself on doing my research for these podcasts. But
I love
basically, I
that.
saw that you said basically quite a few people have been in awe that you actively work in the industry with a stammer. But as
Mm.
you say, you don't let it define you, and you let basically your work and energy define you. And basically, what I'm trying to make is TV is definitely becoming more open. I feel like
Yeah.
to everyone. It's not just a place for people with that, you know, that prim and proper BBC voice that they always had back in like the 70s and the 80s that you heard the newsreaders had. I mean, even everyone, you watch old Doctor Who and they all have the exact same BBC voice. But basically, it's becoming the industry is becoming a place where every kind of voice can be heard and represented. Basically, would you agree with that? And how have you found navigating the TV world with a stammer?
Well, I think to segue from the stammer aspect, I think accents are really important. I know there's a bit
Definitely.
of because obviously I am currently in London working at Loose Women, and you know, and obviously I'm from up north near Preston, and actually there's quite a number of the team who are actually from up north, and it makes such a change to have such a diverse, you know, team with different accents because you know we all bring different things to the
Mm.
table. You know, from I'm from a really small town, you know, but I get to, you know, bring what I have from up north to here. So accents, I think, is a really, really interesting aspect of it.
I'd
But
agree. I completely agree with you on that. I think one thing that I think is really important, and especially especially on the shows that we work on, I
yeah,
think it's important to have diversity everywhere. But on the shows where we work on, where, for instance, Loose Women, it is a panel show where you're talking about topics that affect people that affect people from all over the country. And then there's me working on a show where I'm helping solve crime, but crime obviously affects everyone, and it's different. It's dealing with different people in different communities and different just different things altogether. And I think it's really important for the unscripted world, definitely scripted as well, but definitely unscripted. I just feel that there's that need for diverse accents and voices and represent your opinions really.
yeah, and it's like we've got Joanna Page from Gavin and Stacey.
Love her.
She's like doing quite a lot of shifts with us, and obviously she's Welsh, and you know I don't think we get enough Welsh people like on TV. So having her on because obviously we've got Kay Moore from Scotland, you know, so we've got Welsh, Scottish, we've got like different regions of the country, like you know, represented on screen, but also as well, representation isn't just on screen; it's off
Definitely.
screen. So it's really important to have that. But answering your question again, because I keep going sidetracked,
No,
but
it's all fine. It's all fine. It's all been good. I'm loving it.
but I can't keep on to one topic. Navigating with a stammer, you know, it's it's a bit of a weird one because it's like a part of me is fine when people go, "Oh, yeah, oh, you have a stammer, or you grew up with a stammer, or whatever they come out with." I don't get offended by that. Some people would, because I don't, act like I've got a stammer. It just comes out when I'm really tired, stressed, or whatever. And unfortunately, I don't really get stressed or tired that often, but we move. But yeah, I just think, as well, people are becoming a bit more aware of their surroundings. People are being educated more. So even if I did slip out with my stammer, I think because I've given like the team enough education on it, I don't think it would be an issue. So I just think education foremost is the most important, and people are open to learn more now. So yeah.
No, definitely. I hope you didn't mind me bringing it up. I just thought it was a really interesting side of you that I think was important to mention.
Oh
Um,
no, absolutely, absolutely, and I'm passionate about it because it's on my Instagram everywhere about my stammer, and I think it is important to talk about it.
yeah,
So
definitely.
I'm happy you did bring it up. So yeah.
Amazing. Well, good, good. Um, what I'd love to know though is obviously you've been a runner, you've done all them runner jobs, and you've now stepped up to researcher, and
Mm.
you're enjoying I mean, you love doing the casting side, and now you're enjoying in on Loose Women, finding the stories and getting them opinions across. Where next for you? What is it that you personally want to achieve? I did actually read another article that said that you wanted to be a presenter, and I can absolutely see it. When I read that earlier, I was like, absolutely should be a presenter on Loose Men when that gets made into a full series, not just a special. So
Uh, it's such a hard one because like being a presenter, because now I've seen on different shows, it is such a hard job.
yeah,
Like I don't think presenters get enough credit because like, especially like the women when the anchor when they're having to read the auto cue, or even like the ones who are just on the panel and they just have to think like straight off the bat or respond to producers or whatever. It's full on. So I mean, I'm 24. I could be the next big presenter in 10 years' time. Who knows? I mean, I could laugh at this podcast and be like, "Oh my god, you didn't think he would be a presenter?" Who knows? But yeah, I mean, the progression would be AP producer. I think. I don't know. I didn't think I would have this conversation, to be honest with you, this year, but here we are.
what I
Yeah.
love though, no, one thing I just want to say, what I love is that passion. Like we've already said, is you need passion. You've clearly got that thing, and I like it's probably making you blush, but I don't care. It's really important to have, and it's so nice to see people that have that passion, and it's just really exciting. I think for not only people in the industry, but for people looking into the industry to see that people are excited by it. Um, one final thing before I got one more question, but one final thing on the topic of telly to someone looking into wanting to work in telly now, someone that's at university or someone that maybe didn't go to university, they're in their mid-20s, what advice would you give to that person about breaking into telly?
Well, I'll try to keep on topic with this. I
Go
mean,
on as many tangents as you want, I don't care.
um, I think you've just got to have that courage
Mm.
to go for it. Don't give up at the first, second, third, or fourth hurdle. You just got to go for it. And also find something that's unique about you. Or like I was having a conversation with a presenter a year and a bit ago, and this presenter was like, "Look, I've got nothing special about me apart from I am a people person." And then he has grown his career through that. For me, my way in was, my passion for having a stammer, but then also navigating to TV. So find something that you are passionate about. Could be that you just love to interview people. Work on that. Make a podcast. Do something different that everyone else
Makes you
isn't
stand
doing.
out, really, I suppose. I mean, I've always loved making YouTube videos. I used to do them about Doctor Who, and then it's developed into this podcast series. And I just love getting to talk to different people, and maybe not necessarily love people. I mean, I love talking to people in unscripted, but I also love getting to speak to people. Like I got one planned with someone in the art department, and I'm so excited to learn more about that. And I think
Yeah.
that's what excites me about making telly is that whole storytelling and like you said, that the interviewing and just talking to people and meeting new people is really exciting. Completely agree with what you say there.
Thanks. Well,
And
so
my final question for you, though, that I ask for everyone is what TV have you been enjoying recently?
oh God, that is a question. What have I been
The
watching?
toughest question of the whole podcast.
What have I been watching? Oh dear.
This is when we
What have
find
I?
out that Jack doesn't watch anything. Have you been watching Big Brother?
Yeah, I mean, I started watching it, but then life got a bit hectic. As I said to someone today, I went, look, I've got commitment issues, like I said before. So struggling to keep up with Big Brother, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and like a Sunday. I don't have time for that. And also commitment issues, as I keep saying. I am looking forward to watching I'm a Celeb.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. It's got a really interesting lineup, like that. I love my soap, so EastEnders, I'm avidly
Oh, how
watching.
good has EastEnders been?
Oh,
Actually,
so
talking about
good.
soaps, every morning, me and Jack wake up. My boyfriend Jack, for anyone listening, not this Jack that I'm talking to, we wake up and we around about 7 o'clock in the morning, we come in and on the TV, put ITV3 on and Classic Coronation Street from when I was a kid is on, and Beck Lynch has just left for the second time, and it's been amazing. Honestly,
Good
classic
stuff.
Corrie.
What am I watching? I'm not up to date with TV. This is
Oh,
actually so bad. I
well,
mean,
that's
also,
your homework. Go and watch some TV and shout about it. But no, I mean, EastEnders is definitely a good thing to be watching. It's phenomenal right now.
I don't, but I should be watching more TV. This is bad.
You're
It's
too busy
really
making
bad.
it. You're too busy making it.
But I think that's the thing. However, I am so excited for Doctor Who to come back because
Yeah.
we're going back to God tier level Saturday Night TV. Thank you, Russell T Davies. Thank you very much. And also Big Boys. If anyone's ever watched Big
Oh
Boys,
yes.
so that's just been pitched to being released. That comes out January. So we'll definitely be watching that. So not watching anything right now, but I've got
You will
plenty to
be.
watch soon, which I'm excited. So
Nice.
there you go.
Well, thank you so much for chatting, Jack. Is there anything else you want to say at all?
Oh, I'm gonna leave with like an inspiring like quote or something. You know, just basically don't be scared to push yourself out of your comfort zone. I think if you're feeling like you're not like that big personality, whatever, it doesn't matter. Your hard work and your effort will show and persevere. So yeah, that was not
No,
really how I wanted it to say, but here we go.
no, that absolutely made sense and it was perfect. Honestly, thank you so much for chatting. It's been so interesting just getting to like hear how it felt to step up from runner to researcher and just I suppose how much you love doing it. Because I think that's one of like I keep saying in this podcast, it's one of the most important things that I think is so beneficial to people starting out is hearing that passion from other people in the industry. So yeah, thank you so much.
No worries.
Thank you so much for listening this week. I really hope you enjoyed the episode. It was an absolute pleasure getting to talk to Jack about what it was like to step up from runner to researcher. What I love about him is how he's taken something that has affected him and turned it for a force of good and is he's doing his campaigning and inspiring others, and it totally inspires me as well looking at what he does. And one thing that I think that is clear from all the conversations I've had so far on this series is just how passionate everyone is. If you want to work in telly or film, you've got to be passionate, you've got to enjoy it, and you've got to really want to do it because it is tough and it is demanding, but passion that you have, it makes it so much more enjoyable. So I think just take that with you. If you want to get into TV, just be passionate and it will honestly help you so much. But let me know what you thought, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Next week, I'll be chatting to a second AD all about the AD department. If you have any questions about that, please do let me know. Also, if you want to keep up to date with getting into TV, just search it on Twitter and Instagram and you'll never miss an episode. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thank you, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.